Hello everyone, my name is Matt Scorpion and welcome back to another reset update in Destiny. Now, I will say there is some of the stuff I talked about in last week's, this week in Destiny update. Some of that is in play, others are not. Now, I forget exactly what is coming, but I'll get more into that when I talk about it later. But on the front page, basically, you'll see a notice that, first of all, just right off the bat, we have the new Normandy, aka Mass Effect bundle in the store. So every class has their retroactive, well, of course, armor. There is all the stuff you can acquire for your sparrows, jump ships, and ghosts. And then, of course, there is actually one or two emotes, which, for all intents and purposes, that's on the wrong... Oh, no, it's actually on the right hand. But yeah, there's a dance as well as a finisher currently available, which is, I guess, dependent on the element used, but also is just the Omni Tool strike. So I'll get more back to that more in detail in the bit. But, of course, on the front page, I think we probably have a Trials booster just because we had no current active boosters on the front page. Usually that either means Trials booster or no booster, period. So expect something for Trials on the back end, just in case. But on that talk of discussion anyway, the current available Grandmaster Nightfall is currently the Heist Battlegrounds on the moon. It isn't that terrible. There is lots of stuff to chew through at the start, and there is an annoying battle in the middle where you have to defend a point. There's tons of unstoppables and things that just generally don't want to be defeated. But on that same note, the boss fight is a little bit easier if you can use cover and avoid snipers. So on that note, all three elemental shields, as always, unstoppable and barrier champs between Hive and Scorn. And then you also have Void Threat for incoming Void damage being increased. So like I said, keep an eye out for the boss and other Void sources. Then Grandmaster modifiers, as always, Extinguish, Limited Revives, Fire Pit, so Acolytes spawn fire pools when defeated, but only really in the beginning section. Then we also have Chaff for no radar, and Seasonal Overcharge, as well as Strand and Solar Surge, and Overcharge Sniper Rifle. So if you want to keep it far back a little bit, you have a better reason too. And on that note, this week's current weapon, not gonna lie, was hoping for more. Now, like I mentioned before in this week in Destiny, they did mention some stuff that is coming in and out during this season because of, obviously, it's a double season, so they're kind of rotating some stuff in and out. It is not here yet, unfortunately. Basically, when I saw the Normandy stuff, I expected the rotation to happen. However, it did not. So we are still on the last set of weapons for all places around. This week being the Braytech Osprey, a nifty rocket launcher, especially with some unique perk combos that let it get 8 rockets in the tube. I wish I was exaggerating. I'm pretty sure you can almost get consistently more, but of course, I still don't know if this is a damage meta, especially with Argent Ordnance. I know by details it gives it for every reload, and that should work for it, but I forget if Bungie found a workaround for that. But, of course, like I said, moving on, because there is no booster there, so not much to really go for. Gambit, nothing new as usual. And like I said, I have a feeling the booster is currently active for Trials when it comes around. However, we just have to wait and see. Otherwise, there might just be no booster. Then we have Showdown for 3v3 quick play. Relic still for 6v6 labs. I think we have this for another couple more weeks. The usual competitive, regular control, regular rumble, and then Team Scorch for the quick play option as a rotation thing. Now, on that front as well, just getting into the rest of the world. So, of course, the world is still rotating about as it has been. Of course, there is still not much else new happening aside from Riven's Wishes, which there is, of course, another one of them to get to. I'll cover that once I get into seasonal stuff. But while we are on the front page, Dares of Eternity, just knocking it out quick so I don't forget it. The legendary mode rotation for Dares of Eternity is Fallen Hive and Zydron for the Legend mode Dares of Eternity, and then getting out the rest of the world. So on Legends tab for all of our stuff, our rotation dungeon is currently Prophecy, as we can see here. Our rotation exotic mission is Vox Obscura, which, like I say every time it comes up, if there's ever one to ignore for the sake of ignoring, it's this one. While, of course, there is a few weapons that it is good to earn, the exotic and of most of the other weapons aren't exactly worth much. So if you're going for red borders, I'd say go for them just to clear out the board. Don't worry about Dead Messenger, though. It's dead. Then for Crota's End rotation, it's Precarious Balance, which is second encounter challenge, aka bridge. Basically, you cannot have the bridge active or holding when you are crossing it. You have to make it across while it is falling. And Master Mode brings Discipline Focused Armor, if you wish to grind it out for armor. On that note, though, the farming raid, I believe, is not Root of Nightmares. Where did the farming raid go? I believe it is Vow of the Disciple this week. Yes, there we go. Which, as usual, means all challenges are active for all 4 encounters. And there is Master Mode, Mobility, Focused Armor, but as well, if you want to go for Vow of the Disciple, whether it's Steel for the Master Mode or anything else, just farming out Adept Weapons, there is options there. And its usual modifiers, all 3 Elemental Shields, Unstoppable, and Overload. Then, as well, Overcharged Weapons, including Strand and Solar, and Fusion Rifle Overcharge. So, if you wish to farm that out, now is your time. Now, however, the rest of the world for the basic raids. Last Wish currently has the Keep Out challenge active. The Garden of Salvation on the Moon currently has the 0 to 100 challenge, aka the Final Boss challenge. Bit of a pain, that one. And then for Europa, for the Deep Stone Crypt, it is currently the Copies of Copies challenge, which is second encounter challenge. Then, skipping past the Throne World, just going into both the Legends tab raids, we have for the Vault of Glass, we have Ensemble's Refrain, which is Atheon Challenge. King's Fall, which I believe last week was Gaze Amaze, which means it would be Daughter's Challenge this time, just going off of memory. Then, lastly, we have for Europa and Root of Nightmares, we have Cosmic Equilibrium, which is third encounter challenge for all of that stuff. And while we are here, the current rotation Vex Incursion Zone is a Himsa Park, which means the partition is Ordnance, aka the annoying one. And lastly, for Neomuna, the weekly mission is First Contact, which is actually a pretty easy one to farm because the air quotes first mission that involves going onto the ship, fighting through it, dropping onto Neomuna, and doing a little bit more fighting pretty much ends as soon as you drop to Neomuna. So, you know, it's kind of easy to farm out if you need one to farm out. And from that perspective, getting into seasonal. So, just keeping up with, we have the third week of Riven's Wishes, which this one is defeating combatants in Legendary or Master Lost sectors. Additional progress is granted within the Dreaming City, which I believe currently there is... Yes, there is a Lost sector in the Dreaming City, so maybe get on it while it's there. But aside from that, of course, you get your Wish Token and usual 5 enhancement cores. Now, unfortunately, because there's a percentage, it's hard to gauge exactly how many you'll need. So this could take a while, obviously, because it is a weekly challenge. Expect this to take a while unless you are going for Master, because I do believe that would grant bonus progress. But then, on that front, same thing with seasonal. Just checking the coil. Oh, whoopsie. I may not have any of that available in my Hunter. One moment. For the coil in its rotation, we have the Divining Hall, or Divining Hall, however it's said. First steps in the Temple of the Queen's Wrath, Sensorium, and the Reaver's Orison, and the first steps in the Cell of the Sycophant. You know I said this last week and probably several weeks before, but it seems like there is like 5 places total you can go with the coil, and only like 3 things you can do in each of the places, meaning there's not a lot of variety. But who am I to judge? I am no developer. I am just a consumer of said developer. But on that note, it is time to get into the Eververse store. So on the front page, we actually have lots of variety. We have Gloam Strife, or actually no, that's how it said, Gloam Strife, which is a weird one because it does look a little bit like wood, but at the same time, it kind of has a nice color combo. Black and yellow is always solid, but this is more brown and mustard. So it doesn't look half bad, but I don't know if it really appeals. Then we also have Atlantic Rush, which is kind of similar thing. It is a nice another blue and red, but the red is a bit lobster-ish, so if you want to be Larry the Bodybuilder, then you can go ahead and try it, but on the same notes, you know, lobster. Then for a transmat, we have the Crystalline Breakout that is from Season of the Witch, which I believe this is supposed to be Nezarax busting out from his crystal coffin on, you know, the Witness's ship. And we also have the Smooth Dance emote, which is all the way back from Forsaken, believe it or not, which, well, it's a small dance. It's another one of those dances. And we also have the Glaive Mistake, which is from Season of the Risen, which is a pretty funny one just because it's you being suave with a glaive sticking to the ground, but however, it does not hold your weight and just kind of falls over. And it actually ends, unlike most of Bungie's variety. Then we also, just because it is still active, actually, I wanted to mention as well, the Lunar New Year stuff is still active, which if you wanted last year's Riskrunner ornament, as well as this year's Two-Tailed Fox, or anything else that is new to this year, for Lunar New Year, and specifically the Year of the Dragon, now is time to pick it up while you can. This does kind of go away at random times. It's hard to say when they go away. They might show up just for 3 weeks, and it kind of shows up in the middle of the year. Granted, it's around Lunar New Year as always, but at the same time, they just kind of show up, and they also just disappear. Then, on that same note as well, there is some Valentine's Day bundles, which I imagine is old stuff from, you know, Crimson Days and the lot. Then, to the main Bright Dust store, avoiding Valentine's Day as I always do, Temperature Wash, it is the start of our shaders, which is one of those ones that just kind of is present. It looks solid enough as a color combo, but at the same time, not exactly flary. Would look good on a function, not fashion. And we also have Chrome Stock, which is a kind of similar one. Looks nice. There is some chrome bits. There is a little bit of blue to match it. It does look very nifty, but there is some odd parts that is almost like a leather tone that, in terms of weapons, especially that fusion rifle, does throw it off. And we also have Golden Age 1 from Season of the Worthy, one that has popped in and out. Nice purple and yellow does kind of go well together, and this actually does look a little bit more refined. But like I said, it has to look proper, and it just kind of looks a little out of place. And then we also have Tyrian Abyss from Season of the Haunted, which is a similar case just because this is supposed to be black, white, and silverish blue, but it's mostly black and silver with barely any blue and purple from somewhere. Then we also have Cabal Shield Breaker, a transmat effect, which is, you know, a Cabal Shield that doesn't look anything like a Cabal Shield somehow. The Champion Entrance, which is basically pulsing champion energy. Then we also have the Signal Intercept, which is another one of those classic blue rarity shaders that was made into a legendary one and recolored by Bungie, thinking no one would notice. And we have Magic Lamp and Emote, which let's just see where it goes. Assuming rubbing the lamp, and oh, it spawns a ghost. That's kind of cute. And please tell me it ends. Does it actually end? Or does it just result in confusion? Okay, it actually ends for once. That's good. And let's say this again. Lagomorpha Lunaria. I'm assuming this is another one from Lunar New Year, but this time from Season of the Rabbit. I believe this was last year's. And it ends. That's surprising. And then we also have a new, let me tell you, multiplayer emote, which I swear this was a reference from something. I don't remember what it would be, but, you know, references are always references, and then it just kind of awkwardly ends. Then we have, definitely from last year, we have Taurus Rocketeer, which is a part of Lunar New Year's Year of the Ox way back when, in Season of the Chosen, which is like Season 12? No, that's actually 12. That does sound right. No, 13. It's hard to remember, though. And similarly, we have Rabbit's Chase from last year's Lunar New Year during Season 19. Bright and spectacle, definitely, but it's kind of odd looking in terms of its geometry. And we have a one-off Corrupted Logic, which is something that I was a fan of going forward. What I'm not a fan of, though, is Bungie still doing all these Siva ornaments and still just ignoring that Siva exists in the world. I really wish they would just do something about it. It doesn't have to be another Rise of Ironhold DLC. I would just like acknowledgement. Hell, maybe an exotic mission or a dungeon. But, you know, it's still a very cool-looking ornament, and especially for freshly buffed Necrochasm this season, would definitely pick it up. And then we also have the Spider Projection, which, as always, is the last on the list of a crappy Ghost Projection. And to wrap up the cosmetics, checking with Ada before checking with Banshee and wrapping everything up, we have that's not Dark Ramelan, Envious Touch, which is from Season of Arrivals, which is basically a darkness shader if there ever was one. If you wanted to be dark and wavy and also have not exactly one color and be an unmetallic, there you go. And we also have the Mad Monk, all the way back from Season 3, which is basically a carbon fiber look, if you ever just wanted to be strictly carbon fiber. And lastly, we have War Cult Endgame, which is just a shader, nice clean white and light purple, but at the same time, it is still factions, and factions are dead, so who knows if you want to rep a faction. Now, before we wrap it all up and get into it with Banshee, I just wanted to remind everyone that with seasonal challenges as well, we maxed out at rank 10, and so far they've mentioned new seasonal stuff to keep it interesting. Well, interesting air quotes, but I don't think we're going to be getting any more of these. Bungie hasn't directly stated it, even though they've mentioned some stuff they are rotating in and out just to try and keep the ball rolling in terms of new seasonal content. So, like I said, work on it if you have, some to still go for. Otherwise, don't be waiting for new ones. And wrapping it all up, for Banshee, Lunalata 4B, a lightweight stasis bow, one that has been around a lot. I would say get it if you want something nifty, but at the same time, it is not craftable. It is still quite outdated. It's almost getting actually quite outdated at this point, but it's still pretty solid if you just need a bow. Then Iota Draconis, another thing that is definitely outdated, all the way back from Season 15, which was pre-Witch Queen Warcrafting. Solid enough, but still a slow, high-impact frame, so it's hard to say whether or not it's worth anything of your time nowadays. And we also have True Prophecy, a hand cannon that used to be one of the Crucible metas due to an excess of rangefinder, but since it's buff, it's still been solid, but it hasn't exactly lived in any way. But this roll is definitely one I would say throw in the trash, but if you see a better one, keep it. It might surprise you. And we have Disparity, a pulse rifle from Season 19, which is solidly enough... Wait, am I doing the math right there? Witch Queen? Yeah, never mind. I just had a thought. But yeah, Witch Queen craftable available. It's basically... God, I'm messing up the words. Season of the Seraph craftable, currently available. Now, if you want to go for it, I would say go for it. It is an aggressive 4-round burst, so it is wily. Stasis, so it does have access to the stasis-ness, but, you know, craftable, so do with it as you wish. It just... I'm not sure if it actually compares to Sacred Providence, which this could get a similar role of rapid hit and kill clip, just in case. And then we also have Code Duello, which is a solid enough rocket launcher, was the first of the lasting compression rocket launchers, which I know isn't exactly meta nowadays, but it's still pretty solid if you just need straight up damage. Then a combination of impulse amplifier and a variety of other perks. It's solid enough, but like I said, in the other cases, is outdated, is not craftable, does not even have an origin trait, so it's kind of just fallen by the wayside. With that, that is everything in the reset update. Now, like I said, I was surprised when the Mass Effect stuff dropped, but not the other seasonal rotation stuff dropping. But on that note, my name is Mad Scorpion. I will see you hopefully tomorrow when I do my usual Valentine's Day sucks. Time to just do everything but be Valentine's Day. With that, I will see you hopefully then.